Well, hello, Hexicans, Pulsicans, and everyone. We have a special guest tonight who is going to give us some idea about homesteading. So let me bring him up. He's our very own Trey Palak. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, your voice is a bit low. Maybe I can adjust the volume from my side. Can you try it out now? Hello.
Ba-dum bum ba-dum bum. How are you guys?
What's up?
Is is Trey on yet?
Yeah, he's here.
Give us a
I
picture.
don't know.
We're live. Yeah.
Yeah, we are live.
And yesterday I wanted to get some tacos and I walked up to the place and the door was locked and I looked inside and I could tell it was like closed early. The gal inside was just like, I want to get prepared for tomorrow. Get everybody prepared for tomorrow. Oh, I just want some tacos. What's up, Trey?
How's it going, guys? I don't know if y'all can hear me well enough. I'm driving right now. I got
Yeah,
stuck in
pretty well.
traffic trying to get. Yeah, I'm on my way to the barn, so you guys don't just have to look at me. You can actually see some actual cool
Hey,
stuff out there.
so is your barn separate from your house?
Yeah, it's actually, when we get there, it'll make us a little bit more sense. The barn is actually part of the Bartowskowicz Foundation. And I can explain a little bit about that, a little bit more about that, but um, barn is actually donated to the county, and it's it's a full homestead. Um, trying to, but it's donated to the county, and the whole purpose is for students that are working on projects, working on agricultural projects, place they can keep their there. They can work. The barn is 150% self-sufficient. So it is a community project of sorts that everybody participates in, everybody has to keep up with, and everybody has to work on. So if you're uh, if you're going to be there, if you're going to be part of it, if you're going to be part of the environment and the community that uses the facilities, then you have to take care of it, and it'll make a little more sense when I get there. I'm about 7 minutes away.
Awesome. So you're watermelon champion.
Yeah. You guys are looking at the 2023 Luling Watermelon Thump Watermelon Eating Champion, and
All right. So next year, Trey's idea is to have some sort of a hexagon or pulse chain or hex buckle, belt buckle instead of a medal, because he's in charge of the medals next year, right?
yeah, I told them that I wanted to win first, and then once I win, then I would be donating. So I'm going to donate the buckles for the next 5 years. So as a donor, obviously I get to, you know, have creative licensing and how what's on there and whatnot. So it's going to have obviously the, you know, Luling Watermelon Thump and all that other stuff. But then, like I was thinking and kind of relaying earlier, like I bet I could figure out a way how to integrate pulse chain and hex into the background on that buckle, or some way in some form or fashion. And yeah, I forgot that Eco has a yeah, he was kind of classically trained in art and architecture. Yeah, so I came up with the idea, and I was thinking and racking my head about it. And 2 minutes later, he's like, "Here you go, check out that," and draws like an awesome design on a napkin. And I was like, "Yeah, I forgot that you do that." Yeah.
Hey, will you tell everybody about how we met on Twitter? Wasn't there some scammers about?
So so I had started doing research because this was not too long after Pulse Chain had launched, and I was like, you know what? If I want to get more information, if I want to find out what's going on and get good feedback, I need to go ahead and be active in the social media groups, or in the just finding out more information, because I keep getting a lot of information from YouTube, and everybody on YouTube, the YouTube influencers, drop that information saying, you know, make sure to follow us on Telegram, make sure you follow us on Twitter for our live updates or fast updates, or if you want to be the first to know about information, whatever, so on and so forth. So I get on there and I start following a lot of hexagons, and start looking at tweets and start seeing this information. It kind of just takes you down this rabbit hole, and you just find just a slew of people on there. Well, I ended up following, I think it was Hexologist and Crypto Coffee and you and a bunch of other people who had, you know, some kind of affiliation with Hex and with the Richard Hart ecosystem. And next thing I know, I start getting DMs from random people, and I had no idea the amount of scammers that were out there. I had no idea how many people were just like copy somebody's profile and make it look so perfect and so exact that I was like, oh, okay. And then, so number one, I didn't know about all the scammers. Number two, I jumped onto one of the group voice chats in Twitter, and you know, I was like, oh, hey, this is a perfect platform. I can ask some questions. So I asked, you know, how do I find out more information? What's, you know, I didn't really understand what a T-share is, or, you know, what is it, you know, is it good to sacrifice for all projects, or limit sacrificing, or any of that stuff. And as you were going through your pitch about everything and telling me a lot of information, giving me a lot of good feedback, then one of the other guys in the group, who's the affectionately termed guard dog, jumps in and says, "You've had a Twitter account since 2010, and you just started following rags for a week or something like that, and then he kicked me out of the group. And I was like, well, that was fast.
He kicked you out of the chat.
Yeah.
Not just down to listener, but out of the room.
And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then I ended up DMing you directly because I was like, I don't know what happened. I'm not a scammer. And that's when we were able to go ahead and connect through Telegram, and you kind of gave me all the background information about how many people are out there that are having, side conversations and trying to shill crap coins and just trying to scam and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was completely green and completely oblivious to all that. And so, yeah, next thing I know, I'm like,
And you even
oh,
said that you were kind of new and
yeah,
wondering about like new coins, right?
yeah,
And that's when the piranhas come to eat. That's when they start hitting you up in the DMs as much as possible. So keep telling the story because the story's not over.
yeah. So next thing I know, I get this DM from somebody who's claiming to be a hexologist, and I was like, oh, okay. And then they tell me, hey, do you invest? Do you want to learn investing strategies? I was like, yeah, it sounds great. What's going on? And he kept trying to send me messages back and forth through Telegram. And then next thing I know, uh, he starts asking questions. And I'm like, okay, my red flags start popping up. And I'm like, wait a second. He's like, oh, how much Bitcoin do you have? I'm like, I thought this was all about Hex. Why are you asking me about Bitcoin and about trading strategies? And I was like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't, I don't know. I'm like, what is this? And then I ended up giving you a screenshot of what he was asking me for and sending it to you. And you were like, that is not hexologist. That looks really similar, but that's not. And then the guy's name was completely different on Telegram. And then not too long after that, then it was like, okay, yeah, this guy is just a scammer. And then you ended up putting him on blast on Twitter, showing that he was using the fake, uh, uh, I guess, a copycat Twitter account to draw interest to him. And then next thing I know, he takes a screenshot of what you had posted. I guess he just got hammered pretty hard because then I got a Telegram message from him like right after that. Just said, Trey, I'm very disappointed with you.
Trey, I'm very disappointed with you.
But yeah. Okay.
So it was a Hexologist 103 account instead of a Hexologist 30, I believe.
Yeah, it was. They had an extra number or left out a number or something like that, but completely perpetrating all that. And then I went into everybody that was following me because you start following people and they follow you back, and it's just like, okay, that's how you build build the community. Well, I get in there and I start looking at everybody, and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that Richard Hart had 18 different accounts. I didn't
Oh yeah.
At least, yeah.
had so many
Without
different.
an I, without
Yeah.
an A. Yeah.
So that was my introduction, and a very inexpensive introduction, I should say, and a very good lesson learned. So yeah, immediately after that, I said, let's be a little bit more careful about what we're engaging with and who we're engaging with and whatnot. And so I appreciate all of the support, feedback, the positive reinforcement, even if it was negative at first. It was definitely a good lesson learned. Very, very good lessons learned all the way around. So, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And I even jumped on the space uh, right after the watermelon thump. And I was able to go jump back in and tell you guys what happened with the watermelon thump and all the stuff that went on with that. And that was cool. It was a much different reception this time.
Because you're a winner.
Yeah, yeah. But
So
my big disappointment about the watermelon thump was me and my son both had our Hex Pulse Chain shirts on that I'd ordered, and he was so excited to wear his, and I was excited to wear mine, and so all the pictures that we had were on there. Were on all the pictures that we had for like on our cameras, and everybody that was there, and I think even at the show, I guess they may have posted on their Facebook page or whatnot. But the Austin American Statesman was there, and they took pictures, and they conveniently took angles of,
Cropped it.
yeah, they cropped out my son's hat, so you couldn't see he was wearing his Texas Tech hat. And then the picture they had of me holding up my Ryan as the first place winner was like from a back angle, so you couldn't see.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, okay, all right, I got it, I got it. I was like, well, it was a valiant effort. I feel we definitely showed everybody that was taking individual pictures there. So
So everybody who doesn't know, whenever you live in Austin, there's politics. And so like Trey and I, we went to Texas Tech up there in the Panhandle, and we were raised around a bunch of Aggies that went in the center of Texas to the agricultural university, and but yet we live closest to the liberal capital, Austin, Texas, the University of Texas sitting there. So we're used to this sort of stuff where like they frame stuff politically, and so we're expecting it in sports, we're expecting it in job applications, we're expecting it everywhere.
yeah, it's just one of those things. I was like, all right, well, it's fine. We had a good time though. My son was a little disappointed that he came in second, uh, but the positive about the whole story was, I said, well, I talked to the reporter from the Statesman before we got started. I showed her the video of you practicing, and she was really excited. So she took a lot of pictures of you, Dalton. So you're going to be in the paper. You're going to be on the website. You're going to have a big picture of you on there, and he was excited about that. And then when the pictures actually came out, he was the very first picture. He was like the headline picture of him with his face just
Awesome.
watermelon.
Buried in it.
Yeah, and then what was better was that the kid who won first place, his picture wasn't in there at all. Dalton's picture was the one that was in there from his group.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so they have three different age groups from 7 years and younger, 8 to 14, and then 15 and up. And I said, well, this is the last year that you get to compete in 7 and under. Next year, you're going to be in the 8 to 14. And we watch a lot of UFC. He loves watching UFC. So he was like, so I'm moving up weight classes. I was like, yeah, you're going to be in a new weight class next year. He's like, okay. He's like, I'll be the first 8-year-old to win that one. I was like, yeah, yeah, you will. Yeah. So you would think after we ate that much watermelon that he wouldn't really be wanting to eat watermelon as soon as we got home. And even like all this week, he's like, we should start practicing now. We got to get ready for next year, Dad. I'm like, ease up, Happy Gilmore. Hockey tryouts aren't for another year. We don't have to go real hard right now.
364 more days till next year's hockey tryouts.
Exactly.
Got to toughen up.
Exactly. That's exactly what he turned into. Yeah, I got to toughen up. I got to get my stomach expanded. If I'm gonna do this, I got to get my teeth and jaw techniques. But he was super excited to be in the paper, and he won $20, and he's extremely proud, and I'm proud because I think that's like the first $20 that he's earned on his own that didn't come from me paying him for chores or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't think you want to put that on a resume as your first job, but he was definitely proud.
If it's in Luling.
Yeah. If it's in Luling, yeah, we'll put it on there. So I'm at the barn now. Let me see if I can switch the camera angle around. Because right now it's just showing me.
So the other stranger in the camera is Marcavelli, who likes to take on whatever names. So today he's Tuna Salad.
Tuna salad. Awesome.
Yeah, I was Tupacavelli on the last stream, and RH Max called me Tuna Salad. So I think it stuck.
That's a good name. That's a good name. All right. Well, we're here. I'm here at the barn now. So let me start where we have animals right this second, and that way you guys can kind of see what's going on. So we'll take a look. So these are the cattle pens, and these are the way this works is all these animals that are out here. The whole purpose, like I said originally, was to establish this so that the students that are interested in agriculture, that are interested in learning how to do uh, raise an animal project, how to live a lifestyle of self-sustainment, um, have a place to go ahead and keep a lot of their stuff and keep their projects at. Because if you're living in a neighborhood, um, there's not an opportunity for you to raise a steer, in your backyard. There's not an opportunity for you to raise, a champion, breeding pig, or uh, goats, or chickens, or rabbits, or anything like that. And then also there's a lot of area out here, and it's really just up to the individuals that keep their animals here, that participate in this as part of the community, to go ahead and upkeep the entirety of this of what has been granted for us to use. And so this is as much a learning experience as it is an opportunity for everybody to be able to go ahead and participate. And every year it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I think the applications that have been put in for animal projects for next year, let me take you guys inside here, inside the where the hog pens are at. So next year, I think we have enough space to keep. Um, I think we can keep 30 hogs in here. I think we can keep 30 hogs. And so this is what the hog pens look like without anything in them. And you can see everything's empty right now. But come October, every single one of these pens will have at least 2 animals in it. And all these animals will be raised either for one of the livestock shows for San Antonio, Houston, Austin. In October, actually, this year, that's when the Heart of Texas show was in Waco, and then the State Fair is in October as well. And so when those when the students have projects they want to work on, or they have a project that they're gonna show at one of those, they keep a full record book, and they have to learn a lot about animals. But in learning about that, you learn the business side. You also learn how to sustain, how to grow, and how to cultivate your own projects. And whenever I went to school, my degree is actually in agriculture education. When I graduated, I didn't want to go be a teacher because I was really good at the topic and at the subject, and I enjoyed it. And that was, for me, I felt like that was why you go to college. You go learn something that you like and that you enjoy doing and that you're good at. And so that's why I went and did that. But we've got a couple of, actually, you guys, we've got a couple of hogs in here right now. You guys can take a look at. These are, yeah, what's going on, guys?
We all paid.
Yeah. So these are a couple of the crosses that that the the barn keeps out here. And so I want to say we're in end of June right now. So I think they've already been AI'd, artificially inseminated. So what they'll do is the the ag teacher will actually order he'll order seed from a producer somewhere across the country, and then they'll artificially inseminate these sows, and the pigs that come out of them will be available for the students who can't afford to buy a hog for a project. They can actually they'll actually be able to use one of these one of the piglets that comes from here, from the sows that we have in here. A lot of times also because when you're raising animals, there's uh, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes your hogs just die. They'll get sick and they won't get better, and they get pneumonia, and they may look great uh, today, and then 3 days from now they're they're just coughing and they've got pneumonia, and that's it, and you're out whatever you paid for that project. And so those the piglets that we get from the sows that are raised here will be those are quote unquote kind of backups just in case we have a fallout with something like that. So this is the hog barn, and you can see that it's all open. If I get in here,
So that's a concrete floor?
yeah. So this is a concrete floor, and whenever we get the projects in here, whenever we get the hogs, we'll put down shavings uh, into these pens, and every day, you have to come in here and you have to clean them out. You have to clean out the pigs. You have to clean out the pens every single day because you wouldn't believe how much they eat and poop, but it makes sense if you think about how fast they grow. The hogs that are raised for production, for market production, for market animals, that what you buy at the store, they grow from being born and maybe weighing like a pound when they're born to being market size at 200 to 280 pounds, usually 300 pounds, something like that, 260 to 300 in roughly 8 months. So so
Wow.
yeah. So it takes 8 months for them to grow bigger than you.
8 months to gain 240 pounds.
8 months to gain, and that's probably on the light side. You want your hogs to be about uh, 240 is like the lightweight. You want them at about 250, 260, 280, something like that. That's a good size if you're raising them for market. And so you're looking for feed efficiency, and you want your animals to be as happy as they possibly can. So when I posted that picture of my daughter uh, giving her hog a pedicure, that was literally like that's how pampered these animals are, because they're happy. The happier they are, the more they eat. The more they eat, the faster they grow, the better they grow. They don't get stressed out. They don't get they don't get sick if they don't get stressed out. They're able to tolerate the heat. They're able to tolerate the cold, the changes in the temperature, and you just want them to be happy at all times. Whatever you can do to make their lives happier, because that is what your goal is. Then
About how much feed does it take to put on that poundage throughout their life?
so at the beginning, they might get about a pound and a half of feed per feeding. When we get them, they're usually at about 40 to 60 pounds, sometimes depending on how early you get them. But by the time they really start hitting their stride, they'll start gaining anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds a day. And so you have to keep that food in front of them. So we might go at the beginning. We might go through. Let me come in here and I'll show you the feed sacks. At the beginning, they might only have, we might go through for one hog. You might go through a 50-pound bag of feed once every week and a half, every 2 weeks, something like that. And then as they start to gain, they're going through their growth spurt. They hit their teenage years, and then they start eating like teenagers, and they just eat you out of house and home. And they will go through. You figure if your hog has got a conversion where you're giving them 6 pounds of feed and they're making 3 pounds of weight gain, they're going to put on, they could put on 20 pounds to 25 pounds a week, which is, that's the stride that you want, and that's the efficiency that you're looking for. And then, that's a bag every 2 days. If you've got more than one animal, last year we had 4 hogs and we were going through a bag a day. And they just, like I said, they'll eat you out of house and home sometimes, because depending on what you need to do, you have to learn about this. This goes back to the educational portion. You really have to learn a lot about effective management of your animal, because if they're gaining too fast, which sounds great, but then their bone structure can't catch up. They'll put on too much muscle, and then they walk funny, and then they don't look good in the show ring because they can't walk right. And if you're raising a breeding animal, you want them to have all those good traits that they're going to pass down. So you want them to walk good, you want them to have good fat, you want them to have good marbling, you want them to have all those great characteristics. And so you kind of have to, that's where you have to mess with it. So every feed sack has a certain amount. They tell you what the crude protein is, what the fat content is, fiber content. And it sounds boring, but when you've got a lot of money invested in an animal, you're going to learn real fast. Well, I can buy, a $17 bag of feed as opposed to a $30 bag of feed, so that, so I'm not just wasting money. So these are the feed sacks, and we've got another pallet coming in. This is for each one of these bags is a 50-pound bag, and this is for the steers that we have outside. And I think right now my daughter is going through a bag every 3 days, every 2.5 days. She goes through a bag, and so we'll buy feed by the ton. And for this feed, I want to say it's like, I want to say 540 pounds for a ton of feed. And then you'll have, the question always comes back, well, why don't you just let them eat the grass? Again, you don't want to put them out there and put them in a situation, because it's so hot, that imagine living your life wearing a leather jacket 100% of the time. They get hot, they don't want to eat. You want to keep them cool. You want to keep them happy. And that's one of those things that we work on a lot. And I'll come over here and get you.
Are they given growth hormone injections?
No, 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 no. These guys aren't injected with any hormones. They do get immunizations before we get them from the breeder. One of the big things that impacts cattle a lot is it's the hold on a second. No, somebody left the comb a little too close to the rail. They get it's bovine respiratory disease, and it's counterintuitive to what you might think. Normally, you think of pneumonia happening usually in the cooler months when it's cold or when it's wet and rainy. These cattle love that. They love when it's cold. They love the colder weather. They eat good. They eat really well. There are big livestock productions where they keep their steers in a refrigerated environment like the entire season. And when I say refrigerated, I mean like they keep it like 50 degrees in there, because they know they eat better. So yesterday this one is this is Elvis. Say hi, Elvis.
Hi, Elvis.
Yeah. They're laying down during the day, and you got fans on them. So this is a misting fan. So he's got a cool stream of
That's what I'm hearing.
air going on him. Like I said, they are super pampered. He's just chilling with that in there, and then he's got another fan over here.
Yeah. I was like, do I have a fan on?
Yeah, and so he's just enjoying it.
So do the students have to go to this place like once a day or twice a week or what?
3 times sometimes.
My goodness. Is this like right on the backside of the school?
No, it's close, but not right on the backside. The school is.
And what is your position? Because you're the head honcho of the ag program right now, right?
No. Actually, I'm not the ones who run the ag program. So it's a little different. This facility is not actually part of the school. This facility is donated by the Bartoskowitz Foundation for use by the community. So if you lived here in Guadalupe County and you decided that you wanted to go ahead and raise a hog, like you just like, I want to raise my own animal, I want to raise it so that I can put whatever I want to in it, and then when it comes time to butcher, I know what was into it, I know what I put into it, I know I raised it. You could come over here and raise your own animal. You could come over here, raise your own project, and actually literally
And so it's really interesting that
yeah.
we have hex and this delayed gratification, and how possibly these young students would be interested in getting involved in hex to catapult them with like scholarships or
Yeah,
things there in the future.
because they're already experts at staking at this point.
Right.
Yep.
Trey, you
Yeah.
cut out, so I just started talking.
Can you
No,
hear me
you're
now?
good. You're good.
Okay. All right.
It was just there for a second.
Yeah. So the big part, or one of the things that's often missed, is that there is a business aspect to this. So the students are responsible for keeping a record book 100% of the time of everything that they do, every how much every bag of feed costs, what any kind of medicine that they have to purchase, anything like that. They have to keep a full accounting of everything. So at the end of the year, or at the end of the livestock season, or whatever it is, whatever your project is geared towards, at the end of that, you'll turn that in, and that's actually going to be reviewed. That's reviewed and confirmed by the ag teachers, and if they're doing that for that purpose, they get different degrees, or different they earn different. I don't want to call it status, but it's kind of what it is. So this year, my daughter is getting her state FFA degree, and she is actually the president of the FFA chapter here. And it's a student-run organization, and you hear student-run a lot for a lot of different organizations that are at schools and whatnot, but it really is student-run. The ag teachers act as advisors for the students, but the FFA chapter is run by the students, and because of the amount of money that's put into these projects, and the amount of money that's donated by the community to support the growth and of agriculture, the education of the students, they manage the student run organization manages a I would say a yearly revenue of anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 a year that they have, that comes in and that funds different things that they do, just different fees, different uh, uh, trips that they take, different contests, different, just all these things that they do. And so uh, it's extremely involved. And what we were alluding to a second ago was that, you know, how do we? I've been looking for a way to how can we incorporate hex into this? The delayed gratification, the hard work, doing your own work. Don't expect gain. Don't expect to prosper from the work of somebody else. And it really ties in together really well with this, because you do have to put a lot of work into it. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun it is to clean out uh, a pig pen that's been flooded by the hogs because they decided to play with the water because it's hot. We have to do that like twice a week, and you just, after a while, you get tired of shoveling pig shit, but you do it. Uh, the kids do it. The students learn that, yeah, yeah, I'm not scared of hard work. They really aren't. They're not scared of hard work. They're not scared of this. My daughter's only 5'2" and maybe 125 pounds. But when she's in the steer pen with her steer, and she's putting a halter on him and trying to get him to learn how to let her lead him the way that she wants, and you know he's like, what, 600 pounds now, something like that. you know there's a pretty big size discrepancy, but she's pretty fearless when she jumps in there. She doesn't care. She like, nope, you're gonna listen to me, I'm in charge, and this is what we're gonna do. And so the learning curve is really steep, and you got to learn fast, and you can't be afraid. But she is a big ambassador for trying to help students, or just really the community as a whole, understand that, you know, there is another way to do things. You don't just have to go get your milk from HEB. You don't just have to go get your bacon from the grocery store. You don't just have to get your vegetables from there. There's a lot of things that you guys can do at home for sustaining, for keeping your costs down, for just doing those things. And that's one of the things that's kind of fallen off, in her opinion. And you know, she's not even 18 years old, but she already sees that. And so that's been kind of the crux of her big push. So now that she's the president of the chapter here, she's also an area officer. She got elected to that, so she's part of the officer team that's in charge of, I think, 77 schools in the state of Texas, something like that. It's 20 counties, and it covers 77 different chapters and schools. And so she works really hard and at building that communication, and she's trying to build those bridges so that we can get more people to understand that everybody wants to use, you know, these quote unquote catchphrases like, oh, green energy, you know, recyclable, sustainable, sustaining, all these things like that. And she's like, that doesn't mean to go buy that product. That means that you should probably learn what goes into that, and maybe there's a way that you could do that and do something better for yourself, for your family, for everything. Because what happens if the power grid goes down? You know, what happens if you guys turn on the faucet and there's no water? What are you gonna do at that point? And so those are all those things that she's that's her big platform that she's been pushing, and that's what she wants to push out this year, is that piece of the communication. So just to go ahead and show you some of the other places of this of the Bartoskowitz Foundation.
We have a question in chat wanting
Yeah.
to know if the wildfire smoke affected the livestock at all.
No, we have not gotten any of that. There hasn't been any of that over here.
Would it though, if there was like wildfire, like say Bastrop caught on fire again?
Right. I have not seen anything over here. We have not seen anything that affects the air quality out here in this part and where we're at. Um, uh, Not to say that it couldn't. I mean, there were a few years back. I mean, there was like giant wildfires in Mexico, and we get like these really, really pretty red sunsets, and that was about it. That was, you know, it looked misty, it looked kind of hazy, but it wasn't something that affected the animals that are out here. Uh, the biggest things that affect the animals here, in the barn, is dust. Um, you get a problem with dust when you have so much shavings, so many shavings that you have down, either pine shavings or hay, so that the animals are staying warm during when it's cold. Well, that creates a lot of dust, and the way to keep the dust down is to, you know, you spray it down with water. Well, that keeps the dust down, but now you're introducing water into a cold environment, into an environment that you're trying to keep warm. So you have to always play that balancing act, and so that is the number one thing that'll cause the animals to start to cough, and then they get pneumonia, and then they get sick, and then it's a downward spiral. You know, and it's a big part of the learning process of trying to keep your animals uh, healthy and fed and happy. Which, if you have to give your pig a pedicure, then you give your pig a pedicure. You know, they come out here and they wash their pigs probably 2-3 times a week to keep them clean. Um, they, you know, like I said, you're always cleaning out their pens. They're always over here. And when it gets closer to show season, you give them haircuts, clip them down. We spray, you put baby oil on their skin because you want their skin to be fresh and shiny and nice and look good. Um, yeah, there's a ton of things that they do. And because they don't live here, I don't know if you can see this. This is actually, this is probably more akin to the homestead. This is actually where one of the ag teachers from the school lives here. This is actually her house. And so there's always somebody here, you know, that's, I don't want to say overseeing or managing, but just here, just there's a consistent presence. So if something happens, or if you have to go out of town on a trip, you need somebody to feed your hogs or your lambs while you're gone. Well, that's what it is. We did have some nice fruit trees, and actually, I think this one is fruiting again. Well, in about 2 weeks, we're going to have a barn cleanup day, and everybody that's planning on having projects here next year, or that's had projects here last year, everybody will come up here and we'll clean out the entire barn, top to bottom, spray everything down, disinfect everything. And if I can get in here a little closer, yes, we do. All right, so here's some, if you guys can see that.
It's a fig tree.
Yep. Yeah, this is a fig tree, and we cut it down. So it was just getting wild and not producing the way it should, and so we cut down a lot of it. I want to say 2 years ago, and so now it's starting to grow back up. And so when we clean up, we'll come in here and cut all the riffraff plants out of it. And this over here is so that's a pomegranate tree, and that'll start producing. If it does produce this year, it'll be in a couple of months. We'll start to see it flower if it doesn't get too hot and gets enough water. I think I see a fig right here. And you'll actually see people come in from the community, and they'll come in and they'll when the fig tree is, I mean, this thing was huge. They'll come in and they'll pull figs off of it, and they'll go home and make preserves. They'll go home and make jams. They'll go home and make homemade fig Newton cookies, I guess, whatever they want to do with them. And there was a big one over here I saw.
So this is an old homestead, right? And
yeah,
that's why these trees are just scattered throughout this certain area.
Yep, that's behind me, right here. This one, right here. That one, that's a pecan tree. And if you know, or if you've ever heard anything about Seguin, it's the pecan capital of Texas. And
Okay.
there's about I don't know, probably 100 to 150 different varieties that they grow here and that they cultivate. There's 4 massive pecan trees in the back. And
what is the soil like?
so I'll show you right now. So in Guadalupe County, we have a really dark, rich, black clay. And it holds water so well, so that when we have a lot of rain, it really, really provides a lot of nutrients and a lot of, I want to say, hydration at the beginning. But as it gets hotter, the process of osmosis, it becomes more difficult. It's kind of weird because clay particles are so small and so fine, they'll actually hold on to the water particles and they won't release them to the plants. So even though it holds on to nutrients and it holds
selfish clay.
yeah. So we had, and so this is a prime example of what you have. So as soon as it gets hot and the clay starts to dry out, it dries out just like a brick. And this gets super hard, super tough. But you could take this brick, as hard and as dry as it appears, you could put it on the scale right now and it'd probably weigh 500-600 grams. You could put it in the oven, bake it at 400 degrees for an hour, and you could take it out and weigh it again, and it would probably lose 5 to 10% of its weight. So you know that there is still a ton of water that is still in here that's just trapped within those molecules just because it's binding to that clay so well. So the corn the grass, everything that we have out here. When it rains, it's fantastic, as long as it doesn't rain too much. Because that's the other problem with clay, is that you'll get it holds the water, and then you get these nice big pools and puddles, and then it's just impossible to walk around to get in there to go do anything. So the cornfield that's behind me, they haven't had to do any irrigation out there. They haven't had to do anything, just because we've had such great rainfall in the area. So that's a really good thing, because this farm and all the property around it, they don't run irrigation out here. If it doesn't rain, we're not going to get a good crop. If it rains, we'll get a good crop. And if it rains a lot, we'll get really big, beautiful plants. But that doesn't always translate into getting a lot of feed or a lot of corn out of it, the way you might think. The rainfall has to come down at the right time, and right at the right time, right when the plants are starting to really put a lot of nutrients and a lot of that the sugars that they're making through photosynthesis into the fruit, whether that's corn, sorghum, wheat, milo. Those are the primary grains that we grow here in Guadalupe County. You'll see a lot of that. This is what I'm standing under right now. This is a pecan tree, and you can see there's got some flowers on it, but pecan trees really only fruit every other year. So this year, this one's got fruit on it, yeah. So we'll have a decent crop this year of pecans. And so they start off, and they may not, they're not very big right now, but this one actually produces. They're called paper shell pecans. So when the pecans come out, instead of having that thick shell that's hard to crack and hard to open up, these ones they call them paper shells. The shells are really thin, and they're easy to open up, easy to crack, easy to get the pecans out, and they will just be, the floor will be littered with them. They'll be all over the place. And I mean, the kids will get out here during the fall, and they'll get into pecan fights, and they'll start chunking pecans at each other. And you'll have people again from the community that'll come in, and they'll pick up pecans, and they'll get they'll get a nice big basket full, and be on their way. The bad part is that we also have, because they're so desirable by us, they're also very desirable by other animals, and so you do have a problem with squirrels, some possums, but yeah, the squirrels will start hitting this tree up as soon as those pecans get a little bit bigger. They'll start finding their way over here, and they'll try to get their hands on as many as they can as they start to stockpile for winter and late fall. But yeah, we've got a number of these trees out here on this property. And this property was donated, like I said, by the Bartoskowitz Foundation. And at one time, from the school all the way down to pretty much down to I-10, which is about 3 miles, it was all under one ownership, all part of one family farm, all one owner, one ownership group, and this was all farmed. And this was one of the houses that the family lived at. So you can see behind me, this was one of the storage tanks that they had for water. And there's another one that's right over here. So all the water that is used at the barn at this facility is it's 100% well water. So whenever it freezes, if any of the pipes break, you got to fix it yourself. And last year and the year before, when we had those hard freezes, turned off all the water. All the students had to be made aware, hey, we're turning off all the water so we don't have any pipes breaking, so nothing happens. And so they turned off all the water, and so the students had to bring water from their house or from some off-site location and bring their water over here. And depending on how big the pigs are at the time, the pigs will drink They can drink 3 gallons of water a day, no problem. And you want to keep water in front of them all the time, because the more they drink, the more they eat, the more they eat, the more they drink. So you don't want to cut them off, because then again, it goes back to, you don't get the gains that you want. You're just wasting food, and you're wasting time. And time is the one thing you cannot waste whenever you've got 8 months to when you know your animal's going to be full grown in 8 months. That's one more thing. So there's certain the timetables on some of these projects are a little bit longer, and some are a little bit shorter. So if the students want to raise rabbits are in my opinion, a very sustainable food source. And if we had to go back to eating rabbits and doing that on our own, in order to be, because the grocery stores, everything closes down, it is a very efficient use of feed. It's a very efficient use of area, as far as how much land that you have, because you don't need a whole lot of space. They will grow. These are the rabbit cages, and you'll typically raise 5 rabbits at a time in one of these cages. And so they eat, they don't eat near as much as the bigger animal projects, but they grow fast, and everybody knows how fast rabbits multiply. So it's definitely a very sustainable food source that, again, the students are always learning about these things. Like, okay, if I don't have cattle, how can I feed my family? Okay, well, I can raise rabbits. I can always raise rabbits. They're even if they get sick, they multiply and they keep growing them. I just have to keep the food source coming in. The other projects that they'll grow, these are chicken coops. And those are not in the greatest shape, as the chicken project, if you will, is a very fast project. It runs really fast. It doesn't take very long. It's a quick project, but you just keep them feed in front of them. Just keep feed in front of them, keep feed in front of them, and then they're going to grow. But one of the things that they learn as they're raising these chickens and as they're raising these animals is the sustainability. Like, what would I want to do if I want to raise next year's project? What am I going to do from this year to next year? And one of the things that's starting to make its way a little bit more into mainstream is that chickens are an excellent recycling resource. You can take all your food scraps, your table scraps, you can throw them out to the chickens, and they will sustain off of that better than you could possibly imagine. They also take really good care of anything around the house when it comes to pests, because they don't like snakes, so they keep snakes away. They don't like scorpions. They don't like just nuisance pests, because they'll eat them, and so they'll eat those too. So they take care of that, and a good laying hen will produce an egg every 25 hours. But if you got ones that you're growing, just the homestead, just for your own, just to grow them on your own, you might get one every 36 hours, something like that. But even still, that's a great food resource. You've got all the materials that you need to go ahead and raise more chickens. You raise more chickens, you raise more chickens. All right, now you've got a nice little chicken flock. You got about 20 chickens. That's taking care of all of your food scraps. So you're reducing the waste that you're adding to the landfill. You're reducing the waste that you need to add, or that would be elsewhere. You're creating and producing your own meat. You're taking care of your family. You figure 20 chickens, 20 laying hens. You're probably getting, I would say probably 2.5 dozen eggs a week, at least, probably more. Just on the safe side. In here, we've got some. So some of these projects, like I said, take a long time, and the students that are going to be showing goats and lambs for next year's show have already picked theirs up, and so we've got. So remember
Aw.
that? Yeah. So if you remember on the last show, I was asking about Dorpers. There you go, baby. Right there. That's the future of mutton in Texas, in my opinion.
lamb chop.
Yeah, those things will grow on anything. We've got some over here. We got some ewes over here, and if the point I was making was that let's see, there we go. So those are medium wools. Yes, they produce wool, but the quality's not good enough that you would want to go ahead and shave them down and use it for garments or for human use, because it's just not a good quality. You have just really they just cut grass. That's what they do. They keep the grass short, until it's time to harvest them, and then you bring them in, and then you know I don't know a whole lot of people that eat a lot of lamb, but I know there's a lot of cultures that do. It's just, in my opinion, that's a really, really time-consuming, a very in-depth, a very hands-on project that takes a lot of time, and it's very time-consuming because they're susceptible to heat, pestilence, predators. So it's just one of those things that I'm like, I'm not a big fan of those. But the Dorper sheep, they'll grow on anything. You can stick them in the field that just looks like just dead grass, and they'll just keep growing. And because of they're from the sub-Saharan African continent, they're extremely well designed for heat temperament, water utilization, pest resistant. And over here on this side, we've got a couple of we've got some dairy cattle out here, and I want to show you guys the donkey. And a lot of people may not know this. Some of you guys might know. Donkeys are extremely good at keeping predators away. I don't know. There's a lot of theories around it about why they evolved in that manner, but they just are. We don't have a problem with coyotes out here in this field messing with any of the dairy cattle, because there's a donkey out there with them, and she takes care of business. They have a problem with it. Rather than most animals, most livestock will run away from a predator like that, donkeys, especially this one, will run directly at it. If you bring your dog out here, she's not going to distinguish between a dog and a coyote. She's running after it, and she's going to settle up. She wants to settle up square business right then and there. Don't come in my pasture. This is mine. Go figure out something else to do. Let's see if I can get up a little closer.
That's funny. That's why Shrek had one.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of there's a few different sizes of donkeys, and the one that was in Shrek was actually a miniature or a smaller.
You want some
donkey.
parfait? I love parfait.
Yeah. What's the parfait? I don't want to. Anybody ever say I want the damn parfait? All right. And this donkey out here lives a very good life. Yeah. If she looks a little weird, it's because she's fat.
That's a beautiful ass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fat ass. She's got fat rolls. She's got so much feed out here, so much time to do whatever she wants. She's literally got fat rolls. That's the first donkey I've ever seen with fat rolls. She doesn't have enough stuff to chase around. So those are the dairy cattle, and that's another medium wool that they got out here. And all these sheep.
I have a question about do you know the benefits of having metal containers for your water holding? I noticed that there was one underneath a tree, and then one out in the distance that was out in the sun. And I suppose it also had a tree that was shading it at one point. But do you know the benefit of not replacing that with plastic here in the future, and instead maintaining the metal shell?
That one, I don't know. I don't know how long that one's been there. So I can't really answer that. I know that I think that one is connected directly to a spigot, and they're more durable because of how hot and how much the sun just hits the everything outside that's not covered up, everything that's exposed. It will just disintegrate any of the plastic that you have out there pretty fast. And if you know anything about plastic breaking down, that just releases carcinogens and just other poisons that you don't want to consume or ingest. And so if you're not cleaning out your water every day, if you're just going to leave it out there like that, that's a good option to leave out there. Sometimes you'll get worms that'll start growing in there, little larvae. If the water's not moving enough, if your animals aren't drinking enough water, you'll start getting some of those things. And then of course you get tapeworms and other stuff that'll make your livestock sick. So sometimes people will put, a little bit of iodine in there, do an iodine drop every once in a while, or they'll just do something they'll throw in there. I've heard stories of people putting goldfish in larger tanks because goldfish eat all the worms and the worm eggs, so they don't get a chance to hatch. So there's lots of little tricks that people will do so that the animals take care of themselves as much as possible.
Great, man. Well, thank you so much for giving us the tour and having so much.
Hello, I lost you guys.
Hola. I can hear you. We all cut it. Who cut out? Did you cut? D-Raj cut out?
I'm here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Davin cut out. He, he should be back. So we had a question from Finbear, like your thoughts regarding feeding soldier fly larva to chicken. Have you tried that or know about anyone doing that?
So there has been a whole lot of experimentation drive out here. The students for livestock is a little different than the specific feed that they want to give them to help maximize their growth and how healthy they are. So they spend a little bit more. It would definitely not be something that you would want to feed if you were trying to sustain. When it comes to the idea of sustainable agriculture and permaculture, which is a term that Davin introduced me to, uh, it, it some of the things that you do out here as you're raising a livestock for show wouldn't be something that you would necessarily do in that kind of situation. One of the things that was brought up in one of the resources that Devin got me was the idea of your animals should be working for you, and then if they're not working for you, then you got to do the work of your animal. So uh, having
Then you must do the pig's work, is
yeah,
what Sep
let's do
says.
the,
Sep
yeah,
Holzer.
thank you. Perfect. That's exactly right. So having a steer out here, um, if we were really trying to make use of everything and make the best use of these animals, this steer would not be in here right now. He would be resting right now, but he'd be resting because during the morning he'd have been pulling across that spreader. He'd been pulling that spreader up and down and fertilizing everything in that field out there. That he would have been haltered up and put out here, and he'd be running a shredder or something like that. He'd be pulling that, and that's what they would be doing. There would be a lot more use out of them for that case, for the for like I said, for the chickens, they're great for taking care of pests and recycling. The rabbits, same thing, pretty much. The hogs, I think in Texas, I don't know how it is around the rest of the world. I know in other parts of the country it may not be as bad, but Texas has probably 50 to 70 million dollars worth of uh, agricultural loss just from feral hogs that run all over the state. Especially right now that it's rained so much. We've got we've got families in the area. They've got a creek that runs through their property, and they every night they'll go down to the creek just to go ahead and take out the to go ahead and try to take out as many of the hogs as they can, almost on a nightly basis, because they will come in and they will just wreck a field. You put all that work into to making sure that your crops grow and your livelihood is at stake because of the weather. You don't need another animal coming in and taking out whatever else they're going to take out. So they'll go they'll go hog hunting, 2, 3, 4 nights a week, as many times as they need to. Thin them out, and then take the meat, and they got free sausage. And take them to the producer. But when you got that much meat, a lot of times they'll just take them and they'll just go ahead and process their own sausage, and they've got an extra reusable feed source that is sustaining out there on the land.
Those are bars.
The what?
Those are bars process their own sausage.
Yeah, they who I was talking with somebody, and we were actually talking about putting up a smokehouse out here to process our own sausage from our own hogs and smoking our own sausage and doing that as well. They're always looking at ways to go ahead and generate revenue or do more things out here that we could do and kind of sustain, so it's a full life cycle of everything the whole animal.
Would that help negate the smell of the pig
Yeah,
smell?
if
Or
it
would that enhance the barbecue
the
effect?
the smoke, I don't know. I think it would probably kill a lot of that smell.
It might, yeah, it's possible.
Smoke for sure.
It would,
They
would probably help.
yeah, they do. If you ever get a chance, any of the places around here, if you go to any of the meat shops, the dry link sausage is a big thing. It just stores really well, and so uh, that's one of the things that they really try to go ahead and teach a lot of the students is like, okay, there, you've got the hog, you killed the hog. Now what do you do? Okay, well, you're not going to eat 140 pounds of pork in one sitting. You're going to have to figure out a way. What happens if the electricity goes out? What are you going to do then? You know, okay, well, this is how you make pork jerky. This is how you make dry link sausage. Yeah.
You
This
might
is how
have to be the pigs might get a little too keen to the idea of the.
I think tuna salad needs another ingredient.
tuna salad needs another ingredient. It needs another. I don't know that we could put bacon in tuna salad. Bacon goes good with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much everything everything that's out here. If everything, they turned off the electric supply, turned off water, everything else, there's a lot of people in the community that would end up over here and would end up building and restarting everything, because you have all the natural resources, all the facilities that you would need to go ahead and sustain everything. I mean, we're still using stuff from the 50s because it still works.
They don't make them like they used to.
I saw
No.
that sewing machine back behind the feed earlier.
Yep. Yeah, there's stuff in the barn that's been here since the barn was built. We have a big problem with rodents, huge problem with rodents, and
You gotta
somebody
get cats.
somebody had some cats, and we ended up with a litter of 6 cats, and we gave them some, they gave them feed to get started, but now nobody feeds the cats, and they're still here. Survival of the fittest. I don't know what they're eating, but they're eating something.
Yeah.
And but I ain't seen I haven't seen mouse droppings or rat droppings in a while. So
Keeping
they're
them
doing,
hungry.
yeah. We keeping them hungry. That's the best way to keep them out here, and that's probably another reason why we can't have chickens running around. It's so.
Yeah, I think my cat's getting in fights with chickens.
You guys got any other questions?
I don't think so. I think we had like 3 populate in the chat earlier about the smoke and about the army flies and yeah, I think yeah the growth hormone injections. How many pounds um, is it that? How many pounds of feed does a hog take in its life? You you demolished those questions for us. You gave us a beautiful sight of what Seguin, Texas looks like. This is kind of like the southern area of the Blackland Prairie, right? And you gave us a soil sample. That's freaking awesome. You explained to us how clay particles are the smallest of all the soil particles. Man, you knocked it out of the park, Trey. So great
Well,
to meet you and know that you're in the Hex community with us.
yeah, that's we've got some. I've got ideas working on how we can incorporate this. Uh, the big culmination of everything that they work on is at the county show in January, and so all the animals go and they show them, and if the students place, depending on where they place, they'll take their animal to auction, and then the animals get sold, quote unquote. It's a premium auction, so you take your animal to show it, and then you take it to the auction. But then after the auction, nothing happens. You take your animal back home with you, and so you want to make the auction, you want to make the sale, uh, and a lot of the money that the students get, they take it and they reinvest it back into next year's projects. They reinvest it back into next year's projects, and that's how they continue to grow their herd that they may be managing out here. Or 9 times out of 10, most of the students take all the money that they get and they put it in a savings account. They invest it, they do something with it. And the students that graduate high school that have had animal projects starting from, you can start in third grade, that have started since third grade, uh, when they graduate, they're not worried about paying for college. They're not worried about starting their life after high school because they've built up the nest egg for themselves starting then. And so uh, I'm trying to figure out a way how to help them understand, like, okay, well, there's investing, there's saving, and then there's probably some other opportunities that you guys could do. So you already understand what the importance of hard work and self-sustainment is. Let me show you how you can go ahead and take care of your own revenue, the money that you've worked hard for, so that some Wall Street banker doesn't run up inflation and all of a sudden that $100,000 is now worth diddly squat. So that's the next kind of natural progression that I want to help the students understand. So that's what I've shown my daughter. I made it, forced her to open up that MetaMask wallet, gave her $20 of Pulse Chain. It's like 200,000 Pulse Chain tokens because she made that postcard. She's like, I don't know, what am I supposed to do with this? And I'm like, let me show you. So I showed her, I'm showing her little bit by little bit what she can do. She can hold on to it, take a part of it. She can go ahead, trade it for Pulse X and go ahead and stake that. She could trade it for Hex, show her the different blockchains. So it's lots for her to understand. So I'm just trying to holding her hand and bringing her in little bit by little bit. She grasps it really fast because as soon as she saw that there was money attached to it and that there was long-term growth potential, so that 10 years from now, she's very well set up. And if she doesn't want to continue working or doing it or whatever she wants to do, then she's already good to go. And that financial aspect of it, that financial freedom that comes along with it, right now I'm working to go ahead and show the students, like, you don't just have to work hard and put your money in the bank. You can work hard and then go ahead and let your money work hard for you with some correct investing that's non-traditional. Let me pull your head out of the ether. Let me pull you away from everything that you've been taught, because the schools don't do a very good job of teaching that. And let me show you some other things, some other vehicles that grow and do those things for you. And so that's what I'm working on right now through her. because I know if I teach her how to do it and show her, it's gonna then it becomes cool. I'm just trying to let her show it so it's cool, and then she can go ahead and show the rest of her classmates like, oh, that's cool. How did you do that? Well, what do I got to do? And then I told her if anybody else is interested, I will, I'll donate 50,000 Pulse Chain tokens to them if anybody else wants to open up a MetaMask wallet and jump into it. And I'll gladly go ahead and donate some Pulse Chain to them so they can go ahead and start working on it and get into the ecosystem. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Trying to grow the community, grow the ecosystem, and break away from traditional finance overlords that are trying to steal all of our hard work. That's all I got to say about that. Sorry.
F you.
That's it. I'm going to roll it. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.